Hello, everyone. This is Tiffany, and I'm excited to bring you our Daily Hope devotional for today. So, I'm continuing Pastor Frank's talk on coming home to love from this past Sunday. And if you haven't gotten a chance to see it, I recommend that you do. You can find it on bethel.org, or you can also see our social media for the different, I think like YouTube or something, to find the different, to find that specific sermon. So, I recommend that you watch it because it was really good. Now, there were three things that Pastor Frank talked about God's love being. And he said that God's love rescues us, God's love restores us, and God's love repurposes us. And I thought, oh, that's awesome because God's love does. Just like that book, Love Does by Bob Goff. God's love does. And the amazing part is that we can find so many examples of this in the Bible specifically. But there's one specific story that actually stands out to me that I really, really resonate with. And I love it because it has all of those three keys, those three characteristics in one situation, in one interaction with Jesus and somebody else. So that's the story about Jesus talking to the woman who committed adultery. Now, just to set the stage, the Pharisees have actually set this whole thing up to try and ensnare or trap Jesus, right? So they bring this woman that committed adultery to him. They specifically present her and say, guess what? The laws of Moses say that we should stone her. But what do you say? And that's where it gets, so interesting. But before we get to that, imagine being in her shoes for a second. Like literally, imagine like the shame, the fear, everything that must be going on internally while she's standing there before her accusers. And she did it. She did do what they're accusing her of. That's the hard part. But can you imagine the thoughts that she would be thinking? Like, is this how it ends? Is this how I die? Is this one bad decision that I make gonna taint my legacy for the rest of my life? Will people know me now as that woman who committed adultery and then was sentenced to execution? You know, there's so many thoughts that could have been going through her mind, and it would have been just nerve-wracking to be in that situation, to be in her shoes. But here's what Jesus says. So the Pharisees say to her, you know what? The laws of Moses say that this woman should be stoned, but what do you say? And Jesus begins writing in the ground, which, okay, so he's writing in the ground, and then he says, let any of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. Now here's the amazing part. They begin to leave. They begin to leave, starting with the older, and then moving towards the younger. They begin to leave. They realize that, wait a minute, I'm not blameless, and so I can't condemn her. It's as if Jesus held up a mirror to them and said, hey, I want you to take a hard look at yourself and your own sinful nature before you start condemning other people as well. So when they did, they realized, I don't have any grounds to blame this woman. So they all began to leave until it was just Jesus and this woman left. Now let's see what it says in John 8:10 through 11. It says, Jesus straightened up and asked her, woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? No one, sir, she said. Then neither do I condemn you, Jesus declared. Go now and leave your life of sin. This is amazing to me because Jesus had every right, as literally God, the righteous judge, and also as a blameless person who has never sinned, he had every right to condemn this woman. But he didn't, because that's not what love does. Love, he offered her love and grace instead. So he literally rescued her from her accusers, the people wanting to kill her. He literally confronted them instead with their own judgment, with their own sin, and they had no grounds to stand on. And then he literally restored her as well. He said, neither will I condemn you. So instead of putting her down and say, well, now that they're gone, let me actually tell you what I think about you. No, he said, I don't condemn you either. But he repurposed her and said, now go and live your life. Now go and leave your life of sin. Wow. That is awesome to me. That is awesome, using all those three things in one story. Now, when I read that story, I get so excited because I'm like, oh, the Lord is amazing and so great. I can't believe that he gives me chance upon chance upon chance. He offers me love after love after love after I mess up. But sometimes I act in a way that, as if the story was written differently, as if Jesus, instead of offering those things to that woman, picked up a stone himself and started throwing it at her and like, you know what? This is you messed up too many times. This is it. Or this was too big. And guess what the consequence is? It's your death. No, That's not how he acts. And if you see God the same way that sometimes I do, or sometimes I act as I do, then you are free to invite him in, as I do, invite him in and ask him to show you truly what his love looks like, what his love means, how it's represented, and what it means for you. Because it'll change your life. It will change your life. So there's actually a couple years ago, while I was wrestling with this, I remember arguing with the Lord. I was like, Lord, there's no way. I don't understand. Like, your love, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, really? You're going to give love to me? Like, why me? There's so many people that are more worthy or better or doing more for you or whatever it may be, right? And he said, Tiffany, 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 you're my beloved. You're my beloved. And finally, after arguing with him back and forth, finally, I said, I don't understand your love. It doesn't make any sense. And he said, you don't have to understand it. All you have to do is accept it. Accept my love. And I just thought, oh my goodness, wow, that's all I have to do. So now I ask you to do the same thing. Accept God's love.